Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for voting and letting me know that you don't mind if my voice sounds a little froggy. I appreciate it. I really wanted to share this video about making my first favorites video, our favorite book for September. It is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I think I'm saying that right. And it is an extraordinary book with an amazing character that I don't think I'll forget anytime soon. She's just amazing. It has to do with chemistry, and so I decided to look for some images of chemistry equipment, beakers, and also a chemistry equation. And I clustered those in 3 different sections, and I love how they turned out. They turned out so good. I'm also going to make a little quote flip book. Not that I exactly have the room for it in this notebook since it's getting so chunky, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. Also chose to use a different cover than the cover that I read. The cover I read had Elizabeth Zott on it, and she has a pencil in her hair, which is actually a significant piece to the book. Probably should have stuck with that cover, but I really liked how this had the different blocked colors and also the TV in it. So that book cover won. As you can see, I've laid out my different stamps that I'm going to use, and now I am assembling my little book for quotes, and I'm actually going to read some of the quotes, or attempt to read some of them while I am making this and putting it together. I basically have 2 flips in one, so that way it opens just like a little book, and they're not all the same sizes, but that's totally okay with me, and I just really wanted to include all these quotes, and I had so many good ones that I knew I had to have them. So I started with a folded flip for the main pieces, and then I grabbed a second piece of paper to do another flip. And the quote here says, and although I said it affects everyone, the afternoon depression zone. It's an especially dangerous time for the homemaker because unlike a 4th grader who can put off her homework or a businessman who can pretend to be listening, the homemaker must force herself to keep going. She has to get the kids down for a nap because if she doesn't, the evening will be hell. She has to mop the floor because if she doesn't, someone could slip on the spilled milk. She has to run to the store because if she doesn't, there'll be nothing to eat. The homemaker is operating at an insane level of hyperproductivity, and even though she's way over her head, she still has to make dinner. It's not sustainable, Elizabeth. So that was the first big quote that I really loved, and I thought it was just amazing. It really did kind of sum up the job of somebody that stays at home, especially in the 1960s. So I am covering up this last section of my little flip book, and that way you don't see the misprint that I had. And this little quote says, "Remove your hand," she said, "or live to regret it." "Bada, bada, bada," he sang, thumping her stomach like a bongo drum. "Bada, bada, boom," she rejoined, swinging her handbag directly into his crotch. The impact was compounded by a heavy stone mortar. The man doubled over in pain. "Have a bad day," she said. And I picked that quote because that really summed up Elizabeth and how tough as nails she was. And she didn't put up with anybody's crap and some man touching her stomach. She just decided to just whack him. And I loved her. I thought that Elizabeth was a fantastic character. And it's not really discussed in the book, but I think that she was on the spectrum, neurodivergent, and that didn't even matter because she just paved her own way and didn't give, a crap about people and what they were trying to say and trying to tell her that she couldn't be a scientist because she's a woman. So I finally have this little quote book done, and I just love it. And now I'm going to read the quote on the front. It says, "Whenever you start doubting yourself," she said, "whenever you feel afraid, just remember, courage is the root of change, and change is what we're chemically designed to do. So when you wake up tomorrow, make this pledge. No more holding yourself back, no more subscribing to others' opinions of what you can and cannot achieve, and no more allowing anyone to pigeonhole you into useless categories of sex, race, economic status, and religion. Do not allow your talents to lay dormant, ladies. Design your own future. When you go home today, ask yourself what you will change and then get started. Isn't that a fantastic quote? I absolutely love it. I just think that Elizabeth is amazing. And that's why I had to read all these quotes to you as I was putting together this book, because I love all these quotes. They're just amazing. And it's just a powerful book on not only paving your own way and, even being different and motherhood and science and just grief, because there's a big aspect of grief in this book, and I'll talk about that when I talk about my thoughts. But it's just a fantastic book. And to decorate my page, I'm also adding in some different cooking stamps, since that is a part of the show, but it's part of the book, because eventually Elizabeth winds up running her own cooking show and does it based on a science kind of background. And it's fantastic. And in the book, she just changes so many women's lives. So I've stamped what's cooking, a spatula, a knife, and a little cook pot and an oven mitt. And then I also have a few other phrases that are like strong women phrases. So like, here's to strong women, 100% grit. You're doing amazing. Stay true to yourself and do your thing. You do you. Because Elizabeth was her own person and she was sure of herself, even when life threw her the cruddiest curveball, she still managed to carry on. Yes, she needed a little bit of help, but I think anybody who has ever taken care of anybody needs some help. So like I said, I cannot say it enough. I loved this book. It was fantastic. An amazing storyline set in 1960s with Elizabeth Zott as the main focus, with the narrator and from her perspective. So I am putting down all the different pieces that I have stamped, and then I will go ahead and get started on adding my thoughts. I am going to place some arrows in different places because I thought that would be kind of fun to just add some arrows, and that way there's more movement and also a little bit more color in the spread. And I just closed my book so I could see how chunky that the quote book made my Archer and Olive notebook, and it's making it chunky, but that's okay. I'm pretty sure this book's going to hold up for December, so that's going to be pretty awesome to be able to see the whole thing put together. Okay, so finally my thoughts. Not that I haven't been raving about this whole book this whole time, but this book is about Elizabeth Zott, who is a scientist in the 1960s. And it's a time when women didn't become scientists. You were supposed to be a homemaker and have a husband and have children. And Elizabeth has never wanted that. She had no interest in that. She wanted to be a scientist and discover things, and it was very difficult for her. She had a lot of traumatic experiences, and I didn't put that in my thoughts. I should have, and it has to do with the pencil. I'm not going to get into it or spoil it, but life throws her a curveball, and she meets Calvin Evans, and they have a beautiful connection that ends really tragically, and Elizabeth has to move into the next phase of her life as a new mom, and she's a mess, an absolute mess. Thankfully, with the help of her neighbor, Harriet, she gets to a better place with her daughter, Madeline. And I just said I absolutely loved this book, and I kind of ran out of room to write all my thoughts, because after Elizabeth is a mess and is able to get help from Harriet and a whole cast of wonderful side characters, she makes a success of herself. She was already a success, but even more of a success with her television show that really changes a lot of women's lives. And I wrote at the end, totally see this as a movie. The last little quote I wrote is something Elizabeth said at the end of the show. Children, set the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself. I just love that. It's so good. So I have that quote, and I'm going to go ahead and add in my arrows. I have some yellow and red and then a blue. And then I kind of made my own color with the green, because the green that's on the book cover is just not a color that I have. So what I did is I took a green and then kind of a teal, and I mixed them together with my fingers. You're going to see that in a minute. And I just had a lot of fun making the spread and putting it together and kicking off September favorite books. So I I'm finishing up with the arrows, and then I added a few on the inside, little hidden spot with the quotes, and you can see here I'm kind of mixing the colors of ink. And the last little stamped piece I'm going to add is a pencil, because I actually went looking through some more Everyday Explorer stamps and I found a pencil. So I have to add the pencil. And if you've read this book, I'd love to know what you think of it. If you want to let me know in the comment section, or just what you're reading right now. All right, so this is my spread, and I love it. I'm going to add the pencils and wrap up this spread, and I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this spread, and I hope you didn't mind the frog voice. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye.